Okay, well, welcome. So, today we are going to talk about a very simple thing. Something that I think a lot of people could resonate with because um, most people just go through life just willy-nilly or focused on uh, like the wrong things, focused on either what people think about them or they're focused on like what the world thinks about them in general, or maybe obsessing over a career or their school or their job, whatever it might be, or even just their anxieties and depression. Because depression is just put simply when you keep thinking about things that have happened or haven't happened and you're obsessing over them, which is pretty much like living in the past. You're thinking, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Oh, I'm a nobody. I'm a loser. Oh, and you're just thinking about all the things that you're made up of or what you think you're made up of. And then you focus in on that so deeply that you become depressed. And then anxiety or becoming anxious means that you are just too obsessed with what is going to happen. You're always thinking about what's next, what could be, the worst that could happen, or you're thinking about the best things that could happen and why it's terrible that they haven't happened yet, or oh, this could happen, but it might not happen, and all these stupid spiraling thoughts that will eventually exhaust you and make you just stay in bed all day. And then that's why anxiety is exhausting you into depression. Because once you have no energy left to plan for this horrible future that you've thought for yourself, you then think about the horrible past that you've created for yourself. And all of that is no good because either one of those, which one leads to the other, is in actual fact, is actual reality, is you splitting your mind. It's like taking a sword and cutting your mind up or your brain or whatever it is into 100 little pieces. And it only takes one split for it to be cut into two, for it to be cut into four, to be cut into eight, to be cut into 16, and then it's just this vicious cycle, and you call that spiraling. So the key is to unify yourself, which sounds kind of weird and almost maybe cliche to some people, but it is so true because when you can focus on one thing, just one thing, not all things, you become a genuine person. And some people call this man or woman of God because God is a unified force, and anything that is just focused on one thing becomes much easier, much more manageable, and realistic and real. Whenever you're thinking of two things at once, your mind is not good at doing that. You will fail because trying to multitask is not doable. We're not supposed to do it. If we sit there multitasking all the time, our mind becomes so scatterbrained, even if we're good at it, even if we think we're good at it, it becomes so scatterbrained that you end up just failing at everything just slightly instead of succeeding at that one thing like entirely. So, plain and simply, when you split your mind, you are becoming a, in a sense, a devil. Because a devil is something that copies. When you are a copier, you're not creating something, you are recreating something. And when you recreate something, it's not authentic. And so when it's not authentic, you get this sick feeling in your stomach you can't even really explain. That's why people don't like disingenuous people, because when you're not honest, people don't, it doesn't feel good. It feels like it's just this fake mask. And a mask is your second alter ego, your second personality. It's just not real. It's an illusion. And so the key is to be authentic. Even if you're being really nice and you're being really polite, that's not authentic. It's not genuine. People don't like it. Even if you're being nice and you're like, "Why I don't get it. I'm being so kind to them. Why aren't they loving me back?" Oh, it's because you're not being genuine. If they treat you like crap and you're focusing on trying to make them like you, they're going to sense that and they're not going to like you or it. It makes them feel weird because it's a recreated energy. It's not a authentic energy from yourself, from your inner unified being. So yeah, the important thing is to accept this fact that Being a whole being, being a genuine being, means that you are focused, and it means that you are real. And if you're not real, it means you're not real, which means you are an illusion. And people don't take illusions seriously. When they see through the illusion, they don't care anymore. They will see through you, and you'll take it personally, like, oh, I'm a nobody, or oh, they think I'm a nobody, I hate them, or oh, I'm a nobody, I hate myself. Whatever it is, it's going to be hate, and you're going to channel it somewhere, whether it be on them or yourself, because you have been split. And anyone who's cut in half dies. So when you die, that's not a good thing. You want to live, and is living is the most fulfilling thing, or it can be if you do it properly. So that's the important thing. And life is actually, most people think life is this thing made up of particles and chemicals that make up biology, that make up emotions, that make up this thing called a body and a mind, and that's it, you know. And some people really genuinely believe that, but in reality, that's the illusion. This is the illusion. This body, this temporary state, all this stuff is just an illusion. That's why, while we're here on Earth, we don't focus on the worldly things unless you want to suffer. If you focus on the worldly things, you are splitting your mind, because in reality, you are not of this world. You are an inner being that exists inside. It cannot be touched. And when you trick yourself into thinking I can be touched, and you allow others to get under your skin or bother you or whatever you want to call it, then you trick yourself into identifying with the illusion. And instead of doing that, you have to identify with the real. And what is real? What is real is what is eternal. And the eternal is light. The only thing in this world that's eternal, that lives forever and ever, is literally a photon. Once a photon gets fused into existence by, let's say, the sun, it never stops existing. It will fly into space, bouncing off matter, flying through empty space for infinity. And it's a beautiful thing because a photon is both a particle and a wave at the same time, which is what gives it that perfect balance. The only things that aren't eternal is matter. Everything that is made up of material particles has split its electricity and its magnetism, its electromagnetism, from a particle wave unified existence into a particle and a wave, uh, which is more of a duality, a dual existence. And it is this exact thing that spirals into the universe and existence and physical reality. So that's why everything is temporary that's made of particles, because they retain entropy. And entropy is chaos. Now, if you identify with your illusion, you're identifying with entropy, with chaos, with death. Life, the illusion, is is deeply fused with entropy, which is essentially the reason we age and the reason we die. So, if you identify with something that is dying, you are essentially identifying with death. That's why worldly things aren't considered to be godly. Not because um God wants to make you listen to him and not have any fun. No, because he wants you to have the real fun, not the illusion of fun. Because the illusion of fun, if you do drugs or drink or have promiscuous sex, whatever it might be, or if you enjoy beating people up and bullying people, whatever it might be, like that is part of the world that you enjoy, it will eventually catch up with you and you will not be having fun. Because that fun is that whole concept of what goes up must come down. And you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to fall. No matter how good you are at climbing, no matter how smart you are, how strong you are, how fast you are, it will always catch up with you because life is that way. So, the best people in the world who can usually considered from our what we call language are godly people. And those people Instead of climbing, 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 climbing to fall, they don't climb. They expand. And when they expand, nothing has to necessarily contract or fall or deteriorate. When you expand, it's permanent. You remain that because you've delved within. And when you delve within, you expand your consciousness. And expanding consciousness is not an illusion, it's the real deal, it's eternal. And so it's just very important to identify the difference between enlightenment and enlightenment within yourself and uh, climbing a ladder in the world. Because if you can't determine the difference, you will never be able to save yourself from certain death. And living death is the worst thing you could possibly experience because you're identifying with something that isn't real. But you are real. The real part of you isn't this physical form, it's the non physical form. And so anything that you gain from within will last forever. And some people obsess with, well, how would that last forever if I die? And asking that question is identifying with the illusion again, with the world. You're imagining what's the world going to be like when I'm not here. That's silly. That is that is not what you're supposed to be thinking. You're supposed to be thinking, what can I do while I'm here? And if you think, oh, what can I do? And you think, I'll do these drugs, I'll steal this money, I'll get this, you're gaining nothing from within. In fact, you're shrinking from within. So, after you die, yeah, you will be right. And that illusion will come to fruition. And your lack of faith, or whatever you want to call it, will come. And it will be very disappointing. But if you don't reach for those things and climb the illusion ladder, and you delve within and expand, you will come to realize what enlightenment truly means. So, yes, being caught in between the world and God is what life is. We are caught between this duality. And duality is the splitting of a unified existence. And we're trying to find how to be unified again. Rather than to discover duality and identify with duality, we realize that that is the opposite of what we're actually trying to achieve. So I hope this resonated because it sure does with me. And I really appreciate anyone and everyone who's willing to see it the same way that I do. Okay.